We need to be aware of the SAVE Act. Republicans introduced this last year, but it didn't go through because the Democrats had the Senate. Right now, Republicans have both the Senate and the House. So this literally could go through. So this is being sponsored by Chip Roy, and it's already been introduced, like I said, one time before. Let's talk about what this is. Married women could be stopped from voting under the SAVE Act. It stands for Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, and that could prevent many married women from being able to register to vote. So SAVE, once again, stands for Safeguard American Voter Eligibility. The act, reintroduced by Texas Republican Representative Chip Roy, is intended to amend the National Voter Registration Act to ensure that all people registering to vote are U.S. citizens. It would require people to present in-person documentation as proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Much of the documentation listed under the SAVE Act is based on having a birth certificate that matches the person registering to vote. However, as many as 69 million married women in the United States have changed their legal names since getting married, meaning their name does not match their birth certificate, per the Center for American Progress. Why it matters. The United States is a democracy. Kinda, meaning all citizens, with the exception of children and some felons, have the right to vote. The SAVE Act would make it significantly harder for married women, as well as many other members of the population, to exercise their right to vote as Americans. If they do not have a passport, which nearly 146 million people in the United States do not have, it will be much more difficult for those who have changed their name to register to vote under the SAVE Act. It is also already illegal to vote as a non-citizen, and several measures, including providing a social security number to register, matching voter rolls to federal data, and in many places bringing voter ID to the polls, are in place across the country to ensure only citizens can cast a vote. What to know? The SAVE Act lists several types of documentation that would be accepted, including a form of identification issued consistent with the requirements of the Real ID Act of 2005, a valid United States passport, valid military ID, forms of tribal identification, and proof of naturalization. Many of these forms of ID, other than a passport, either include a birth certificate or must be presented alongside a birth certificate. The SAVE Act does not include proof of name change or a marriage certificate as acceptable proof of identity. This is vital for married women with a birth certificate that does not match their current legal name. Roy told Newsweek on Tuesday, the legislation provides myriad ways for people to prove citizenship and explicitly directs states to establish a process for individuals to register to vote if there are discrepancies in their proof of citizenship documents due to something like a name change. He pointed to a clause in the SAVE Act that leaves it up to each state to establish a process for applicants to provide additional documentation to the appropriate election official of the state as may be necessary to establish that the applicant is a citizen of the United States in the event of a discrepancy with respect to the applicant's documentary proof of United States citizenship. A Republican representative introduced the act. However, if passed, it may reduce voting opportunities for Republicans, as a Pew study found that more Republican than Democratic women choose to change their name after getting married. The SAVE Act also accepts valid passports as proof of ID. The states with the fewest number of people with passports are West Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. All of these states voted for President Donald Trump in 2024. This part should also be alarming. Election workers face the threat of prison time under the SAVE Act, as it would impose a 5-year prison sentence on election workers who register people to vote without proper documentation, regardless of whether that person is a United States citizen. Roy has claimed that elections have been hijacked by foreigners, but the United States have minuscule levels of non-citizen voting and harsh punishments, including deportation for non-citizens who do try to vote. An audit from Georgia counties in 2024 found that 20 non-citizens out of Georgia's 8.4 million registered voters had attempted to vote. That is 0.00024% of the state's voters list. All 20 were referred to law enforcement and had zero effect on the election. What people are saying. Campaign Legal Center, in an analysis, more than 21 million Americans are unable to access the additional documents that would be required to register to vote under the SAVE Act. People of color, married people who have changed their names, as well as young and elderly people, are more likely to have difficulty in accessing these documents. We already have strict laws in place to protect the security of our elections. The right to vote is a basic American freedom, and our elected officials should be working to protect that right, not restrict it. Chip Roy says, this is absurd armchair speculation being spun up by media outlets who care more about clicks than reality. This bill isn't being attacked because it'll exclude citizens from voting. It won't. It's being attacked because the policy is wildly popular with the American people. Its opponents want and need illegals to vote, and they'll use anything they can to attack it. I don't agree with that, but that's what he said. Cleta Mitchell, founder of the Only Citizens Vote Coalition, in a press release. America's elections must be lawful, fair, and free from fraud. The SAVE Act is a vital safeguard to ensure that only citizens vote in our elections, because every illegal ballot cancels out the voice of a lawful citizen voter. The integrity of our elections and the trust of the American people in our elections depend on it. So that is what these Republicans are saying. And, so many people, when I was on Twitter, the right-wing people, the Theo Bros, the Manosphere people, they were like, repeal the 19th. And all of the things that they have done so far to restrict women's freedoms and chip away at our rights, they've been successful so far. Our daughters will have less opportunities, less rights, and less freedoms than us right now because of all of the things that these Republicans are doing. And if this gets through, even though the Senate does have some Republican women, if this gets through the House of Representatives, even though Republicans do have some Republican representatives, it's going to be a mess that they would strip the right to vote from women because they would be complicit. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think of this one.